Hello everyone. In this demo, we are going to see what are session variables. So in our earlier video, we saw how to carry the value from one postback to another postback on the same page. Whereas here, we will see how to carry the value from one page to another page. Or throughout my application, if I want to carry some value, how do I do that? I can achieve that with the help of session variables. And the first thing is, how do I create a session variable? Then how do I assign the value to the session variable? And how do I access session variables? Now, here what is that I will do? I will create the session variable on this page load. So I'll right click, say view code. In this page load, I'll create the session variable. So I'll say if not is postback. That means only for the first initial page load, I'm going to create the variable session dot add val comma 0. The way in which we created the view state variable is the same way in which we are going to create session variables. So I will be creating the session variable as session.add. The name of the session variable is val, where I will be storing some value, and the initial value is 0. Now, save this. Now, in this button click, I want to store the value of the text box 1 in the session variable. So again, it is very simple. I will say session of val equals to text box 1 dot text dot toString. I will execute this. So I'll write 67 and I'll click this button. Now what happened here? The value 67 got stored into the session variable. Now what I will do, I'll just go for default to page, and in this button click, I want to access that value and display in this label. So first of all, as soon as I store the value in the session variable, I'll just say response dot redirect to default to dot ASPX. So it is going to take me to default to page. Now in default to, in this button click, I want to access that value. So again, it is same as we accessed in view states. Say label 1 dot text equals to session of val dot toString. I'll set default page as startup page and I'll execute this. Now I am on default to page. So in default page, session variable got created and we have stored the value in the session variable. Now in this button click, I am trying to extract that value or read that value. That is 1002. It means that throughout my application, wherever I want, I can access the session values. So the memory for this session variable gets allocated at server side, and for each and every user you have separate session variables. Execute this. I'll copy this and I'll just go for Internet Explorer, one more, and I'll paste it. Say I have two users accessing the application at the same time. Say user 1 has inputted some value 2, say string value 2, and I'm carrying this value to some other page and I'm trying to display that over here, and say this user has inserted some value 23. I have two user, it means that session variables I have two, and each session variable is separate for each user. So user 1 has stored TWO2, so it is going to display the same thing, and user 2 has stored 23, it is going to display the same thing. 2 is here, 23 is here. So separate session variables are maintained for separate sessions or separate users. Now I'll show how to carry an object from one page to another page. Now I'll take one more text box here. Say I have two text boxes. In text box 1 I'm going to store student ID, or I'm going to read the value of student ID from text box 1, and from text box 2 I'm going to read student name, and say I have a class which contains student ID and student name as fields, and in this button click I want to store that object in session variable. So first of all I need class, so I'll be creating a class here. I have copied the class, I'll just paste it. So I have a simple class student with two fields, student ID and student name, and I have a property for student ID and property for name, get set properties, and I have a constructor which initializes the object. So in this button click I'm going to initialize that object student s equals to new student. And here I'm going to pass ID and name. ID is nothing but in text box 1, so I'll say in.parse text box 1 dot text, and in text box 2 I have name, so I'll say text box 2 dot text. That's it. So by this line of code I'm creating the object. Now I'll store this object in session variable. So how do I store? It is very simple, again just say s. So this is very simple. I have created the object and stored the object in session variable. Now I'll save this and let me execute, and let us see whether it works fine or is it going to throw some exception. So I'll give student ID is 1003 and student name as Jack. So this is fine. It has stored the value in session variable. Now in this button click I want to read that value, so I'll just go for default 2 page. In this button click I'll be reading the value of session variable in student object, so I'll say student. This student is not available here, so to make this student class available here I'll just right click and I'll add new class here. I'll name it as student. So it is going to create a class for me. I'll simply cut this from here and I'm going to paste it out here, so that this class will be available for throughout the application, not that page level. So I have made the class available throughout the application, not to that particular page level. Here what is that I will do? I will create the reference of that class student, k equals to session of val, but I need to typecast this to student, so that whatever the value that I have in session variable will get converted to student, and Now my k is referring to that object whatever we have stored in session variable. Now here I'll say label 1 dot text equals to student ID is nothing but k dot ID plus student name is nothing but k dot name. That's it. It is very simple. Now I'll just execute this. Now let us see what it says. I'll click the button. So I'm on the next page. Now here I'm trying to access the value of session variable and trying to convert it to object of class student. Let us see what it says. It is displaying the value. It is displaying the object whatever we have stored in our session variable. So this is all about your session variables. Thank you very much.